Forgotten songs of the 70s.
Moonlight. Feels right.
Do you remember when this song sparked love in you? Or when this one defined the 70s? These are songs that made us close our eyes and feel like the world had a different rhythm, only to be tucked away in the corners of memory over time. Today, we're bringing them back, giving these 70s gems trapped between dusty vinyl and fading memories the spotlight they deserve. 13. Brandy, You're a Fine Girl by Looking Glass.
And it serves 100 chips a day.
Some songs feel like they were written for a sunset, and Brandy, You're a Fine Girl is definitely one of them. Listen closely, and it sounds like the echo of a summer that never ends, like a breeze slipping through the window while life moves slowly.
The sailor said, Brandy, you're a fine girl.
In the early 70s, rock was full of distorted guitars and rebellion, but Looking Glass, a band from New Jersey, took a different path, one more classic and intimate. Their song Brandy was a nautical ballad, simple and nostalgic, telling the story of a portside waitress who falls for a sailor who only loves the sea. That story, straight out of a novel, touched the hearts of millions. For weeks, it was #1 on the charts, and Elliot Lurie's soft voice became a sonic postcard for an entire generation. Over time, Brandy became a hidden gem. It wasn't entirely forgotten, popping up in films like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, keeping it alive in the memories of new generations. Before we go on, we'd love to get to know you better. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. Let's keep going. 12. Magic by Pilot. Sometimes a single word can spark a memory, and in this case, that word is magic. Pilot was a Scottish band formed by young musicians who'd been part of Bay City Rollers, but instead of chasing teen pop trends, they crafted something more refined. Magic was born during an ordinary afternoon in an Edinburgh studio, inspired by the moment when the first rays of sunlight pierced the curtains. David Patten started writing right then, creating an immortal anthem. And that's how it sounds, like the promise of a perfect day. In a decade marked by the oil crisis and political disillusionment, Magic was pure optimism, no cynicism, no complications. It was a hit in America, but Pilot never recaptured that same spark. Maybe that's why the song carries a melancholic air, the fleeting joy of a moment that doesn't come back. Still, every time it plays, it feels like not a single day has passed since that magical 70s decade. Drop a like if you think 70s songs beat today's music. 11. Baby Come Back by Player. Just those opening chords feel like a goodbye, and Baby Come Back sounds like a love letter you read at night, knowing it's time to embrace loneliness.
There was something in everything about you.
Player, the geniuses behind it, were a Los Angeles band made up of session musicians who'd worked with big names, but when they dropped this song, they didn't expect the impact it would have on their generation. Written by Peter Beckett and J.C. Crowley, it was inspired by a real breakup, a love that left, leaving behind the echo of guilt.
Give me the chance to make you see.
There was something universal in that lament, the realization that sometimes pride separates us more than distance, and the public felt it. But the wildest part came later. The success was so huge that the band couldn't top it. They broke up a few years later, victims of the same fame that made them known, becoming one of those groups with just one big moment, but what a moment. The Things We Do for Love by 10cc Ono.
You lay your bets and then you pay the price. The things we do.
Love in the 70s wasn't sung about. Like in the previous decade, it was no longer a naive dream, but something imperfect, yet more real. The Things We Do for Love by 10cc was clear proof of that, a pure and sincere love song. We all remember 10cc, a British band known for their humor and sophistication. They'd made songs full of irony, but with this one, they let their guard down. The Things We Do for Love spoke of something we all know, the little crazy things you do when you're young and in love, the silly gestures, the inevitable mistakes. The public embraced it instantly. It was a song for gray days, one you listen to when you need to remember that, despite everything, love is still worth it. Maybe today it reminds you of that person you did something wild for, or that moment when anything seemed possible. 9. Substitute by Clout. By the late 70s, the music world was shifting. Disco ruled the dance floors, punk roared in London, yet from South Africa came a song that didn't sound like any of that. Substitute by the all-female band Clout was like a ray of light through all the noise. It was a tough time for women in rock, but these women weren't backing down. Their take on Substitute, originally by the Righteous Brothers, gained new strength in their voices. Their sound was clean, direct, and their message hit hard. The sadness of being the replacement, the substitute in a love story. The song spoke to something we've all felt at some point. That moment, you realize you're not the first in someone's heart, delivered without theatrics, with an elegant melancholy. But over the years, their name faded. Maybe because the world wasn't ready for an all-female band from South Africa in the midst of the apartheid era. 8. How Long by Ace. From the first second of How Long, Paul Carrick's voice doesn't feel like it's singing, it's like talking to a lifelong friend. It was 1974, and the British band Ace released this track without imagining it would become one of the decade's most memorable. Many thought it was about romantic betrayal, but Carrick actually wrote it after learning their bassist was secretly playing with another band. It was betrayal, sure, but a musical one. Unintentionally, the song ended up reflecting so much more. That sense of betrayal could apply to any human relationship, friendship, love, broken trust. That's why it connected with so many listeners. With its laid-back rhythm and melancholic tone, How Long felt like an inner conversation. It was soul, it was pop, but above all, it was honest. It hit #1 in the United States, and Carrick earned a spot among the era's most beloved voices, though the success didn't last long. What other 70s song do you think deserves to be remembered? Drop it in the comments. 7. Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Swede. If a song starts with that weird chant and still makes music history, it's got real genius behind it. That's the best way to describe Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Swede. Originally written by Mark James and popularized by B.J. Thomas in the 60s, it was the Swedish band that years later turned it into something entirely new. The magic touch was that tribal opening, making it an instant classic. For weeks, it topped the US charts, becoming the first major international hit for a Swedish band years before ABBA took over the world. Though Blue Swede faded over time, their version lived on. Decades later, it roared back to life thanks to Guardians of the Galaxy, reclaiming its place in the hearts of those who grew up with it. 6. Still the One by Orleans. In the mid-70s, a song came along that fearlessly spoke of lasting love, right when we needed it most. Still, the one didn't try to be modern or profound, it just wanted to say something simple: you're still the one. Orleans, a New York band with roots in folk and soft rock, was influenced by the California sound. When they recorded Still the One, they weren't aiming for grand statements, just celebrating a relationship that had stood the test of time. That was its secret. In a decade of breakups and disillusionment, Still the One offered a different message. It was possible to love the same person with the same passion, even years later. Over time, the song became a symbol. Couples chose it for anniversaries, and even politicians used it in campaigns, but behind it all, its sincerity still shines. 5. Lonely Boy by Andrew Gold. Some songs tell a story, and others feel like they're telling your story. Lonely Boy by Andrew Gold falls into that second category. It pulls you right back to that moment when the world seemed against you. The song kicks off with a bright piano, but behind the melody, a sadness creeps in verse by verse. Andrew wrote it inspired by his own life, or so we thought back then. The son of two famous artists, he grew up feeling overshadowed, like the world spun without noticing him. In 1977, as music filled with synthesizers and flash, Lonely Boy was an honest confession. It was everywhere, but few knew the real wound behind that catchy melody. Andrew Gold was also a talented musician who worked behind the scenes with giants like Linda Ronstadt and James Taylor. But his biggest solo hit was this song, which still holds a strange, sincere power today. 4. Moonlight Feels Right by Starbuck.
Moonlight feels right.
The summers of the 70s can be summed up in one word: unforgettable. Songs like Moonlight Feels Right by Starbuck remind us of moments when everything felt simpler.
You say you came to Baltimore from Ole Miss.
From the first seconds, you can smell the sea, feel the warm air of a coastal night, and sense that you'll be young forever. Bruce Blackman, a Mississippi musician, captured the feeling of a perfect moonlit date in 3 minutes. And he nailed it, blending a smooth, hypnotic rhythm with lyrics that feel like a whisper. Here's a fun fact: the original recording included a marimba solo, an unusual choice for pop music back then. That unexpected sound gave the song its unique identity. That was the magic of the era. One song at the right moment could change everything. Today, hearing it brings back that calm, that moment when the moon seemed to have its own melody. Subscribe to the channel if you want more videos rescuing old, great songs from the shadows. 3. You Are the Woman by Firefall. Great songs only need a few honest words, and You Are the Woman is exactly that. A direct declaration, no frills, no drama, but straight to the heart. Firefall came from Colorado, led by musicians who'd played with groups like the Flying Burrito Brothers and the Byrds. Rooted in folk and soft rock, they hit their peak in 1976 with this ballad. A simple human phrase that spoke to everyone kicked off one of the decade's best songs. In an era when men wanted to express their feelings but didn't always find the words, this song gave voice to millions. Rick Roberts, the writer, penned it one afternoon, never imagining it would get so big, but the public embraced it. At weddings, anniversaries, and on car radios, You Are the Woman became the anthem of quiet love, the kind that doesn't need to shout to be felt. 2. I'd Really Love to See You Tonight by England, Dan and John Ford Coley.
I'm not talking about millennium.
The voices of these two greats came together to create one of the era's romantic anthems, a song you probably dedicated to someone back then called I'd Really Love to See You Tonight.
I'd really love to see you tonight.
The duo England, Dan and John Ford Coley perfectly captured the spirit of mid-70s soft rock. Smooth melodies, honest lyrics, and a warmth that felt like a sunset. The lyrics don't promise anything grand, no talk of falling back in love or changing the past. They just say, I'd really love to see you tonight. A line so simple it hurts with its truth.
I'd really love to see you tonight.
Dan Seals, the England Dan of the duo, once said he wrote it thinking of loves that never fully end those connections that linger, waiting for an excuse to cross paths again. Even today, it can make you want to dial an old number, just to say, it's not a big deal, I just wanted to see you. 1. Biggest Part of Me by Ambrosia.
There's a new sunrise.
The end of the decade brought a different kind of maturity. The innocence of the early 70s was gone, and music started sounding deeper, more introspective. In that context, Ambrosia gave us Biggest Part of Me, closing the decade, and this video. Hailing from California, land of soft harmonies and endless sunsets, Ambrosia hit their peak with this song. David Pack, the vocalist, wrote it after a conversation with his wife, wanting to thank her for being his rock through tough years. This wasn't just a love song, it was a declaration of gratitude. In 1979, as the world geared up for the 80s, Biggest Part of Me closed the decade with a clear message. True love doesn't shout or show off, it just is. Ambrosia never reached that level of perfection again, but they didn't need to. They left a song that's still a refuge. Every note, every verse radiates peace, like life pausing for a moment to remind you what really matters. And that's the end of this journey. We'll leave you with a video of another list of old songs if you want to keep reliving the nostalgia of those days. Catch you next time.